45, because since 45 lies every day, but he told seven lies in a 25-minute interview Fox, to faux spews, anchor, Sean Insanity. 45 made 7 false claims in a 25-minute telephone interview with faux news host Sean Insanity on Thursday night. Here's a fact check for all of them. Energy and Russia. 45 argued that he was the last person Russia would want to be president. No, he was the first choice that they wanted. Well, based on the fact that we've just become, and fairly recently, a little while ago, the number one oil and gas producer and energy producer in the world. By far, Russia, Saudi Arabia now second and third, based on the fact that we now have the best. We will soon have the most. We assume we'll have the most modern military we have ever had, with the best equipment, the best newest, the best newest planes, and all the things we have done, and so many other things. Insanity based on all that. The last person they should want is me. He said, facts first. The U.S. has not just become the world's top energy producer. It was the top spot in 2012, according to the U.S. government's Energy Information Administration. It became the top producer of crude oil, in particular during 45's tenure. The United States has been the world's top producer of natural gas since 2009, when U.S. natural gas production surpassed that of Russia, and it has been the world's top producer of petroleum hydrocarbons since 2013, when its production exceeded Saudi Arabia. A crime on the other side. 45 repeated his claim that unspecified opponents of his broke the law. This crime was a he said this crime was the crime was committed on the other side, and we'll find out about that. We have a great attorney general who's looking at it. I'm not involved in that, he said, which I know he's full of shit on that. Facts first. Several of 45's former aides and allies have been convicted through the Mueller investigation. None of 45's opponents have been convicted. Attorney General William Barr did assign a federal prosecutor to examine the origins of the Russia investigation, but no proof of any crimes by the investigators has emerged to date. Former Obama White House counsel Greg Craig, someone who can be said to be on the other side, has been charged with alleged crimes that were uncovered because of the Mueller probe. But former special counsel Robert Mueller has secured convictions from multiple people from 45's orbit, like former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, former deputy chairman Rick Gates, former campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos, former national security advisor Michael Flynn, and former lawyer and 45 organizer executive Michael Cohen. Russian bloggers, as he has in the past. 45 claimed that Russian bloggers were charged by Mueller. All of these things, like the Russian bloggers, they had nothing to do with us, and everybody knew it. In fact, there is a little sentence, and they are saying that it had nothing to do with the 45 administration, but it was a lot. It was like a lot of people, 24 some, a lot of bloggers in Russia that I've never before. The facts first on that one. No Russian blogger was charged by Mueller. He charged what they refer to as Russian hackers. 12 members of the GRU, an arm of Russian military intelligence, were accused of hacking the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton's campaign. The Mueller report described an extensive hacking operation by the GRU. The report mentioned that the GRU used a blog to disseminate hacked documents, but it did not call them bloggers. Treason. 45 repeated his allegation that the Russia investigation was treason. This was a witch hunt, which technically Mueller said it was not, and it should never be allowed to happen to another squatter again. This was treason. This was high crimes. This was everything as a bad definition as you want it to come up with, he said. Facts first. Nothing about the Russia investigation comes close to meeting the definition of treason. Under the Constitution, treason is narrowly defined as treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Mueller was appointed and supervised by Republican 45 appointed as Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. There is no evidence of any behavior that could even possibly qualify as a treason. A coup attempt. In addition to the accusation of treason, 45 claimed that the Russian investigation was an illegal takeover and a coup. The country has had tremendous support from Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, both dumbasses, and Devin Nunes, and so many of the names that you saw yesterday performed so well. I mean, they performed so well, and they worked so hard because they saw this was a scam. This was an illegal takeover, as you would say in the business world. I mean, this was a coup attempt, in my opinion. This is the United States, he said. Facts first. The Russia investigation was not illegal or an attempted coup. Again, Mueller was appointed and supervised by Republican 45 appointee. Second. And then 45's crowd. 45 has started once more that he has never had an empty seat at one of his rallies. I think we're going to do very well. We have tremendous spirit. Every time you've seen an empty seat, you've never seen an empty seat. We go into these massive arenas and they've packed and there's thousands of people outside. You've never seen an empty seat, so I think we're going to do very well, he said. Facts first, there were plenty of empty seats at 45's most recent Klan rally in Greenville, North Carolina. Last week there have also been various empty seats at various other 45's Klan rallies. Bloomberg News reporter Josh Wingrove tweeted a photo of what he described as a smattering of empty seats in the almost full 8,000 capacity venue in Greenville. The Dallas News said of 45's October 18th Klan rally in Houston, many hundreds of seats were empty, including all the boxes on both tiers of the mezzanine. At 45's Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Klan rally in April of 2017, Philadelphia Inquirer journalist Jonathan Tamari tweeted a photo of rows of empty seats in the upper deck. U.S. remains from North Korea. 45 continued to claim that the U.S. is receiving the remains of soldiers who died in North Korea territory during the Korean War, and in the case of North Korea, I'm actually getting along very well with him, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the sanctions are on, the hostages are back, we're getting the remains back. Facts first. While North Korea returned some remains last year, it is no longer doing so. The U.S. military announced in May that the remains program had been suspended for the rest of the 2019 fiscal year because North Korea has stopped communicating with the U.S. agency responsible for the effort. 45 could accurately tout the return of remains in the past tense. North Korea returned 55 cases of household remains in the summer of 2018. As of late May, 6 soldiers have been identified from these cases. But the Pentagon's Defense MIA account agency said in May that no more remains will be coming back this year. The agency said North Korea had not spoken with the agency at all since the Hanoi summit in February between 45 and Kim Jong-un, which ended abruptly. The North Korea's missile testing. 45 said of North Korea they really haven't tested missiles other than smaller ones, which is something that lots test. Facts first. South Korean officials said North Korea fired 2 short-range missiles early Thursday toward the Sea of Japan. The first flew approximately 430 miles, which is 430 kilometers, 265 miles, and the second one flew 690 kilometers, which is 428 miles. 45 is entitled to his opinion about how small the missiles were, and they were indeed short-range, so we won't call this claim false, but it's worth noting that their range was big enough to threaten both U.S. allies and U.S. military personnel stationed in South Korea. 29,000 as of the end of March. South Korea's Ministry of Defense said it viewed the launches as a military threat and an action undermining efforts to alleviate tensions on the Korean Peninsula. 45 had argued that the May test was not a violation of United Nations resolutions, and he occasionally insisted in the weeks after the test that North Korea had not done any missile testing at all. But Patrick Shanahan, then the acting Secretary of Defense, was unequivocal, telling reporters, "Let me just be clear that these were short-range missiles. Those are a violation of the UNSCR."